Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our normal nightly update. Just so everybody is aware, we will be coming back live again tonight at around 10:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time to catch the 11 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. So, here in this one, we're going to get very, very detailed and we're going to show things here that I'm not sure that you're going to find in very many other places here tonight. We are going to dive right in. So as we could see, we have Melissa on the board. That's all we have for the Atlantic. If we look at the some of the most recent satellite loop, let me hit the refresh on this. This is going to take a second to load. Well, I guess it's not. So let me. I want to right there. Watch this. This is a mesoscale loop. This is over the last 90 minutes. And as you could see, there looks to be some rotation right in that general vicinity. And if we were to check the coordinates here from the 5 p.m. advisory, we have Tropical Storm Melissa located at 15.6 degrees north, 75.5 degrees west. It is currently about 185 miles south-southeast of Kingston, Jamaica, and approximately 295 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Maximum sustained winds are down to 45 miles an hour from what we have been looking at earlier yesterday at this time as of the 6 p.m. We were at 50 at that point. It is currently moving north-northwest at 2 miles an hour. It's basically just drifting around out there, and the minimum central pressure has come down some from earlier to 1,001 millibars. There were no changes with this current advisory, but we do have a hurricane watch in effect for the southwestern peninsula of Haiti from the border with the Dominican Republic to Port-au-Prince and also Jamaica. We also have a tropical storm warning in effect for the exact same areas. So, all preparations, hopefully, they're done. They should be rushed to completion if they're not done. For folks in Jamaica, rush all preparations to completion, like immediately. I understand that you guys aren't really taking a lot of rain right now. Use this opportunity because what's coming is likely to be generational. We have interest elsewhere in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba should monitor the progress of Melissa. A hurricane warning may be required for the island of Jamaica tonight or tomorrow. So, folks in Jamaica, rush preparations to completion. Not a drill. And from some of the stuff that I'm about ready to show y'all, you'll see. Rush your preparations to completion. Our wind for our hazards affecting land, the most important point of a public advisory from the National Hurricane Center. We are expecting, obviously, our tropical storm conditions in the tropical storm warned areas. The hurricane conditions are possible in Haiti, are likely in Jamaica, and I am personally expecting those watches for Jamaica to definitely be upgraded to a hurricane warning here in the very near future. Rainfall. Our rainfall has increased since the most recent advisory. Melissa is now expected to bring 8 to 14 inches of rain to the southern Dominican Republic, southern Haiti, and eastern Jamaica through Sunday, with locally higher amounts possible. Additional heavy rainfall is likely beyond Sunday. However, uncertainty in Melissa's track and forward speed reduces confidence in exact totals. Significant, life threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides are expected. This sounds very similar to what we heard with Helene, where we get the significant, life threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides are expected, not are possible, they're expected with numerous landslides. Across northern Dominican Republic, northern Haiti, and western Jamaica, 2 to 4 inches of rain is expected through Sunday. Flash and urban flooding will be possible through Sunday. Flooding impacts may increase across western Jamaica next week. And storm surge. It's no longer just the surf. Now we're talking about storm surge. Minor coastal flooding is likely along the coast of Jamaica by late Friday into Saturday in areas of onshore winds as tropical storm conditions begin to reach the area. However, there is potential risk of a more significant storm surge, especially along the south coast of Jamaica early next week. Due to Melissa's slow motion and large forecast uncertainty, it is still too soon to know exactly how high the storm surge could reach. And then, of course, we have our nightly reminder to stay out of the water. I can tell you right now, and you guys will see here in a little bit, places that are not even near this, the area of where Melissa is located. They're not even near it. And you'll see what their, I guess you would call sea conditions or ocean conditions are here momentarily. Our forecast track, we still have a little bit of a northeasterly pull here, maybe over the next 24 hours or so. Very, very slow, but could end up losing a little bit of longitude, dropping back towards the east just a little bit. Still continuing to pull slowly north, and then that turn to the west. That turn to the west is... it could impact Jamaica directly, and I'm not going to lie when I say this. That would be the best case scenario possible, is for this on its turn to the left to just automatically just hit Jamaica and hang out over land. Because if this thing hangs out over water, we're dealing with an absolute generational storm. At that point, a potential monster. Now, if we take a look at the 18Z spaghetti plots, this came out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we can see that there is a decent consensus of this pulling off to the north and to the east after about 4 days, except for the GFS. Now, as you can remember, though, with the GFS has been constant about taking it like this. Well, now here tonight, the GFS is like this. The GFS has shifted back further westward and is the only one that makes direct contact with the Tiburon Peninsula there in southwestern Haiti. All of the others, now whether we get up north of Jamaica, whether we go over Jamaica, or whether we turn and go south of Jamaica, it's too early to say. I mean, the uncertainty in all of this is absolutely insane. When you're dealing with a drifting storm and possible center reformations and all this other stuff, yeah, we are certainly looking at the potential of a catastrophic disaster that I hope does not eventually turn into a humanitarian crisis. It's like that. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick look at our trends. As you can see, there goes the GFS jumping way off to the west. Now, again, the GFS has been a hardcore outlier with a lot of its solutions, and that is due to some of the inherent biases that are within the GFS itself. In this particular situation and location has only kind of amplified those biases, and that's why the GFS has been calling for more Hispaniola, which is likely not to be the outcome here, highly unlikely. So now, if we take a look at the euro, we can see that the euro well south of Jamaica over the next 4 days, and then turning off to the northeast, and then going across Jamaica, across eastern Cuba, into the southeastern Bahamas and near the Turks and Caicos as well. Anywhere this storm goes is going to have significant impacts. Looking at the UK Met, now the UK Met, for days on end have been showing a due westward track, and now we're starting to get something that looks a little bit more similar to what we were looking at with the other ones. Being that the UK Met has been such a hardcore outlier, I would not trust what you are looking at until it kind of figures out whether it wants to bounce around or not. Looking at the Canadian, as you can see, the Canadian has shifted back. It was way off to the west and is now shifted back to the east. So again, there's not a run to run to run coherence with the model. They're still kind of bouncing around all over the place, and that does not lead to much confidence because you are not seeing the trend run after run after run. So where you take all of these models of what you see with a grain of salt. See, because the GFS was doing it over and over again, but no other model was really agreeing with what the GFS was saying. And if we go into our hurricane specific models, we could see that even the HWRF is having a little bit of struggle here because a couple runs, yesterday we were looking at something that we're looking at currently here tonight. But if we look at what the previous two runs were, this had turned it to the left and over portions of Jamaica. So again, we're not getting that run to run consistency. We're getting that back and forth. Now, the HWRF wants to bring this up to a category 4 within the next 72 hours and then potentially try to get out. That seems to be a very unlikely scenario due to the fact that the ridge off to the northwest should be building in and come over the top of the system. And we'll be looking at and reading the discussion here in the very next frame from the National Hurricane Center. The HMON, as you could see, not much of a run-to-run consistency, maybe getting up, clipping the extreme eastern portions of Jamaica here and then into parts of eastern Cuba as Cat 3 touching land and then, kind of interrupting the circulation and then the intensity of the storm. If this stays out over the open waters, though, this is a different story. Now, HAVS A has changed quite a bit here. As you notice, a more easterly track in the very short term, followed by a little bit of a northerly pull, and then that western motion sticks in here about 48, 72, and 96 hours. So, about 2 days of moving west and then pulling off to the north over the eastern portions of Jamaica. But by the time that it gets there, we're looking at Cat 5. So, significant impacts here. HAVS B, as you could see, has a little bit more, had that due west kind of turn to it, and then a little bit further south now, really, really close to the island of Jamaica. But the problem is that that dot right there is the 72 hour, and that dot right there is the 96 hours. So you're basically going from here to here in a full day. That's 24 hours. Sounds kind of similar to what we saw with Dorian, to where it just didn't hardly move at all. And I know Dr. Rick Knabb on the Weather Channel this afternoon or this morning, whenever it aired, was mentioning that this has the potential to be kind of all of the worst parts of Harvey, Helene, and Dorian all put together in one storm for the island of Jamaica. And that's why I'm hoping that this doesn't end up becoming a humanitarian crisis, much less just recovering from impacts. Now, as we could see, Habs B goes through, gets over there by about the central part of Jamaica, just offshore, and then moves in and heads towards eastern Cuba as a Cat 5. So it's not looking good, folks. TC Coamp's big time windshield wiper effect, and its overall intensity category 3. The HCCA consensus has been trending back to the east and getting a lot closer here to Jamaica, and basically 72 hours, 96 hours, 120 hours, almost drawing a exact line staying offshore around Jamaica. And the consensus wants to bring this up to a category 3, and that would also be influenced by proximity to land. The TVCN consensus, as you could see here, has been rather consistent over portions of the eastern part of Jamaica, which we're starting to see things kind of trend in that general area, although with this most recent run has shifted back a little bit to the east. And the intensity model on that one wants to bring it up around to a category 3. The official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center has this going out, turning to the left, well south of Jamaica, and then coming up on the western side of Jamaica with the intensity of a mid-range category 4 system, and that could be conservative in its intensities. Now, we're going to go through the discussion here, and as you can see, they are very, very long paragraphs here tonight. The National Hurricane Center has a lot of things that it is trying to communicate to the general public. We are not going to read this top paragraph right here, because that is basically justification for what they have as the intensity with the current advisory. The reason that we are looking into this is we want to know what is upcoming. So the best way that we know how is to make sure that we just go over the whole thing. And I'm going to read both of these paragraphs in their entirety to ensure that the proper information and the communication from the official sources get out here tonight. Paragraph number 2. Melissa continues to move very slowly with the initial motion, a very slow north-northwest drift at 345 degrees at 2 knots. The tropical storm's very slow motion over the last day or so is related to it being caught between 2 mid-level ridges, one located to its southeast over the Lesser Antilles, providing northeast steering, and another mid-level ridge building in northwest from Mexico, providing southwestern steering. Their combined influence is roughly canceling Melissa's overall steering, with a lot of track influences the last couple of nights related to center reef formations to the east and north. Interestingly, much of the hurricane regional model guidance suggests another reformation could occur tonight, and the track guidance envelope has a distinct bend to the northeast in the 12 to 24-hour forecast points. Given the large convective burst ongoing just east of the center of the current broad center, it is feasible it may nudge the short term track east of due north. After the next day or so, the mid level ridge currently over Mexico is expected to expand poleward of the storm, meaning due north, and is expected to help turn Melissa to the west. How far north Melissa gets before it turns to the west continues to remain uncertain. One notable change from this morning is that the 12Z Google DeepMind ensemble mean, which was previously on the northeast side of the track guidance, abruptly shifted to the southwest side of the envelope, now very close to the latest 12Z Euro forecast. In contrast, both the 12Z halves A and B regional hurricane models shifted their tracks further north and east, related to an overnight center reformation. All these shuffling guidance tracks highlights the uncertainty of the overall track forecast, and the latest NHC track was only nudged southward from this morning, blending the reliable HCCA consensus aid and the Google DeepMind ensemble mean aid. This forecast track takes Melissa just south of Jamaica in 60 to 96 hours, though it is worth noting that there are guidance aids that show it move near or over Jamaica earlier in the forecast than shown here. Paragraph number 3. Melissa's broad and asymmetric structure argues against much short-term intensification, though the shear that had been plaguing the system is soon expected to decrease. It will likely take at least 24 hours for the storm's tilted structure to become better aligned to take advantage of the other favorable environmental factors, such as very warm sea surface temperatures and sufficiently moist mid-level, your atmospheric moisture in the mid-levels. Regardless, the intensity guidance is insistent on Melissa undergoing a period of rapid intensification in the forecast period, and all 50 members of the Google DeepMind ensemble show the system becoming a major hurricane or stronger. The NHC forecast will follow suit, showing rapid intensification from 36 to 72 hours, intensifying Melissa from a tropical storm to a Category 4 hurricane in this time period. Remarkably, this is still lower than some of the hurricane regional models and is in best agreement with the Google DeepMind intensity forecast, which have plenty of members stronger than this current NHC peak intensity of 125 knots. Over the forecast period, the tropical cyclone is expected to grow in size significantly and will likely be a large and dangerous hurricane towards the end of the forecast period. Need I say more? And they're putting a lot of credibility into the Google DeepMind because that model has earned its credibility over this season. And I'll show it, though I am quite nervous to do so. Because honestly, folks, I've never seen anything like what we are looking at with the Google DeepMind right now. Now, we do have a Hurricane Hunter mission in. I know that this one says in storm. It is not. As you can see here, we are, it's just kind of drifting around, kind of going around here. Not a lot of tight wind field around the center of circulation, and especially on this southwestern side, we don't have much for strong winds at all due to that shear. It will be interesting. Hopefully I'll remember to be able to come back to this. I have no idea why they're turning left at 77. The storm is nowhere near 77. They are south of Jamaica. They may be running and trying to get a little bit of atmospheric data to plug into the model. So we will monitor that, and hopefully we come back to it. I remember to come back to it before we get out of the live. Our wind speed probabilities, as you can see here, we are going to, and yes, folks, there are Florida interests here that are up there. Please don't. Like there's nothing there other than maybe a little bit, depending on the overall size of the storm and its track. If it runs way west of guidance, it may give some peripheral impacts to the extreme southeastern Florida and maybe parts of the Keys. But right now, I am not very concerned with it at all. Very, very low chance, in my personal opinion. Though, if something were to occur, we are going to see those values increase or decrease over time. So we're going to have plenty of time to be able to, give any type of heads up, depending on how far west it goes. And with some of the model data, it's unlikely, highly unlikely, that we get much of anything to U.S. interests on this outside of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands that have already incurred some rainfall from this. Now, Kingston, this is the one, it's really Kingston and Montego Bay are the ones that I have been really, really keeping an eye on here. And this is quite unfortunate. We are looking at an 89% chance of tropical storm force winds here in Kingston, with a 58% chance of seeing those 50 knot winds or 58 mile an hour winds, and now a up to 34% chance of seeing hurricane force winds. If we look at Montego Bay, we're not much better. We're at 74% tropical storm force winds, 40% 50 knot winds, and 21% hurricane force winds. We do have quite a few others starting to get on the board. Grand Cayman, 39% tropical storm force winds. That could cause a tropical storm watch to be issued for your area as we get maybe in about the 48-hour time period, maybe 2-3 days down the road. If those values remain at this elevated point, especially if we're looking at 19 and 12% respectively for even stronger winds, I would say that a tropical storm watch at least would be warranted. But by that time, we should have a little bit more certainty within the forecast, because at least we'll know if that hard west turn is going to take place, or is it going to be something a little bit more of a northwest turn, and really how far west does it get? Okay. No, to Tacos and Chicken 22 here on YouTube. Honestly, yes. Could this still reach 180 miles an hour? Absolutely. To reach 200 miles an hour with wind gusts, if you're already at sustained 180 miles an hour, yes, your wind gusts are definitely going to be over 200 miles an hour at that point. That being said, there are some ensemble members that get absolutely insane with the wind speeds and the pressures on this, and it is unlikely and unprobable, but not a zero chance either. It's all going to depend upon how far away from land and exactly where it's located, and how quickly it can get itself organized and establish an inner eye wall and an inner core that would allow it to really, really start to exacerbate the conditions that it's in and just explosively intensify. So there is the scientific term and the scientific reasoning for rapid intensification is 35 miles an hour in 24 hours or gaining 30 knots in a 24-hour period. A lesser known term of explosive intensification, it's not necessarily documented. It's not a true scientific term, but it is used in this realm. Explosive intensification, we're looking at the increase of 70 miles an hour in a 24-hour period. So double the minimum rate of to declare rapid intensification in 24 hours. So you would be looking at then a 70-mile-an-hour increase in that 24-hour period and a 65, a 60 knot increase in a 24-hour period, which is basically adding a whole brand new hurricane's worth of strength on top of whatever you started with when it started to go. And being that it's at 45 miles an hour, I'll show you here, what's the maximum basin intensity on this. So right now, the maximum basin intensity is 166 knots. That is the oceanic heat content and what the storm system itself, what the available energy there in the ocean would be able to support. So 166 knots, yeah, you could be looking at potentially, you could reach 180 miles an hour. 200 would be unlikely, highly unlikely. It would need to slide over into another certain spot to be able to tap a little bit more oceanic heat content than where it's sitting at now. But you would definitely have gusts well above that level for sure. All right, our rainfall. This is, to me, it's very difficult to quantify how much of a threat this is, folks. I haven't seen. I don't think we've ever seen anything remotely close to what some of the forecasts. And just to try to give you guys an idea, I'm going to jump out of frame here. This is the Google DeepMind model as of the 12Z. All right. This is something that, honestly, in all the years that I've been doing this, I've never seen this before, ever. Every single one of these ensemble members are in the major hurricane status, practically. It's so bad that they had to give a brand new color category of 920 and below. Normally, when we look at these ensemble members, there's always going to be that one or two that's got a different, color. It could be a salmon, it could be a red, it could be a blue or something, whatever. There's always that one or two or four. There's not a single one with this. And it has me very, very concerned because the Google DeepMind has performed excellent with its intensity forecasts this year. Excellent. That's why the National Hurricane Center is weighing so much into it. And we don't know if you combine that in with the rain, you combine that with the wind, you combine that with it not moving very fast, folks. I'm serious when I say this. If you know anybody in Jamaica, even if you've got a random acquaintance on social media somewhere, please, preparation is key, because the catastrophic impacts that are likely to be coming to Jamaica are unbelievable. Now, we know that the GFS has been sliding back further and further to the west. We know that the GFS has been its biases have been impacting its forecast, and the overall track itself is an outlier. The euro, on the other hand, has been a little bit more reliable and a little bit more consistent with what we are looking at. And, folks, I'm going to draw where Jamaica is. It's right there. You're within these purple ranges. I would not be surprised to see 30, maybe plus inches higher across the island, which is going to lead to numerous, like they said, numerous landslides are expected. Well, you add that in with all the wind that we were just talking about, and the saturated soils, and the potential for storm surge. If this tracks south of the island, like they're calling for, and then kind of wraps around the other side and stays offshore the entire time, if we come out of this without a humanitarian disaster, we would be lucky. And then for folks here, in the Tiburon Peninsula here, and especially along the southern edge of Hispaniola, even getting back towards the Dominican Republic, and then you look here at eastern Cuba, getting into parts of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. Now, Caymans, you are not out of the woods yet. All right, we don't know, but so keep an eye on it. I would expect some fringe impacts for sure, some of those peripheral impacts, and we're looking at an absolute monster out there. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, you obviously would be running a higher risk than Grand Cayman. So, folks, please exercise caution. Our key messages, just to reinforce all this and hit it home. Jamaica, as you can see, they've got it completely categorized here for these folks. Due to Melissa's slow motion, the risk of a prolonged, multi-day period of potentially damaging winds, heavy rainfall, resulting in life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides, and storm surge continues to increase for Jamaica. Preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion, since strong winds and flooding rains could begin in Jamaica by Friday or Saturday. For Haiti, heavy rainfall will result in catastrophic flash flooding and landslides across southwestern Haiti by this weekend into early next week. Extensive damage to roads and buildings is expected, potentially isolating communities for an extended period of time. This is a life-threatening situation, and immediate preparations to protect life and property should be taken. Strong winds could also potentially last for a day or more over the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti. We're talking about some very serious problems here, folks. Number 3, remainder of Hispaniola and eastern Cuba. Heavy rainfall could also produce significant life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides in southern Dominican Republic. Interest in Cuba should monitor the progress of Melissa, since the risk of heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and storm surge appears to be increasing. And folks, this looks like an epic disaster. Now, I want to show you guys what this thing can do. All right. This is the meteorology database that we have tied to the page. And the reason that we have Kylie created this site so many years ago is for exactly this point. Situations just like this. First off, we are going to stop by Jamaica. As you can see here, we are at the government of Jamaica, the official source. We're taking a look at their radar. And as you can see, the radar has been restored here in Kingston. And we're monitoring this, and we will watch. Unfortunately, they just got this thing repaired, and it's probably going to go out again. Being that what we're looking at, and that would be so sad because it took them forever to get this thing repaired. And now that they do, of course, there is another storm coming. Following up with Jamaica, as you can see here, they have an interactive map. All right. This interactive map, shoot, get back here. I am going to, we are going to drop these right into the comments of everything here tonight. This is for our folks in Jamaica. And for anybody on YouTube, James J Grime 239, he is a member of the Tropical Weather Threat Society team. Just so you guys know, if you guys need anything, he will be more than happy to help out. And if it's something that he can't you answer right away or need some visual help, just let me know, brother, and I will be more than happy to address it. As we can see with the interactive map, and I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice that they have tropical storm and hurricane icons pretty much everywhere. All right, big time impacts, all hazard types, very dangerous, as high as it gets here for Jamaica. So please, folks, follow your official sources. We'll come out here. Let's get near Kingston. And as you can see, by clicking on these, you can get all of the official information. All right. Please use the official sources. I cannot stress this enough. This is a potentially catastrophic situation getting ready to unfold. For the folks in Haiti, as you can see here, we're over here now with the Hydrometeorological Unit of Haiti. This is a part of their official resources. This is their government. And as you can see here, the synoptic situation, they do release bulletins and updates for their residents. Please, folks, follow official sources. Now, we're going to jump over to the Dominican Republic. As you can see here from Santo Domingo, we have their bulletin that has been issued. We've seen 80 millimeters of rain, and really between like 60 and 80 millimeters of rain. So we're looking into a few inches, just a couple, not too much just yet, but this is forecast to continue to persist day after day after day after day. And that's going to lead to quite a bit of flooding, especially once we start getting into day 2, day 3, day 4 of this continuous onshore flow coming up out of the warm waters, and then the orographic lift that you would see on the mountainous terrain as it causes the air to rise and then cool into the higher levels. And that is only going to exacerbate your rainfall amounts, and that is going to end up coming down, similar to what we are looking at there on the southern portions and the southwestern Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti. So again, folks, official sources. Jumping over to the Caymans. Now, here with the Caymans, we've got a good radar with there. So if it gets, depending on where we're located with Melissa in the coming days, and we lose radar from Jamaica, we do have radar from Cuba and the Caymans that we may be able to line up and get at least some information from the radar itself. But they have a small craft advisory. Let's see here. Where did I find that? Advisories. Yes. They have a small craft advisory, will be in effect until further notice. And that, as you can see, we're already dealing 4 to 6 feet. 4 to 6, 4 to 6, 8 to 10, 10 plus feet. So this is why I say, the storm, you're not even near the Caymans. Not yet. And you're already turning up the waters. So please, folks, exercise extreme caution. And, if you would, please stay out of the water. Jumping over to Cuba, as you can see, they're already tropical cyclone advisory number 5. They are starting to issue updates. A new update will come out here. Let's hit the refresh. Do we got it? They said 6. It takes forever for this website to load. But again, folks, this is the official source. All right, we're just going to skip on. It's taken forever. Like I said, that's not uncommon for that. So let's see here. Let me check, see if we've got any questions. Kyle, yeah, it's going to be really, really bad for Jamaica. I'm going to be honest with you, brother. This is one that, unless you were with a national, like a national group, going down there by yourself wouldn't work on this one. It wouldn't. And granted, you'd be able to jump in, but it would be a lot better if you were tied with something else, because I would imagine that getting in and off of the island is going to be extremely difficult, especially after the disaster takes place, and you would end up with some really, really, really significant issues. And if you were, you'd be better served in helping to get the supplies to them instead of being there on the ground and in need of supply, because there's no guarantee what things are going to look like afterwards. And that is, this is one of those ones to where you look at it and you're like, uh-oh, this is going to be bad. You step away from the scene, you allow it to come through, and then you jump back in afterwards. So this way you can kind of help out that way. Staying out there, unless you're collecting data or doing reporting or something like that, this probably wouldn't be the storm that you'd want to be in. Too many landslides, Bubba. We grew up in Florida. Too many landslides. You'd be dealing with a monster that you may not be able to fully understand and respect, just for the fact of you don't have personal experience with it. I would be in the same boat. And honestly, I do know that there are a few storm chasers that have gone out there, and I hope they're ready, because they may be stuck to that island for an extended period of time. And I really hope that nobody gets hurt over this one. And unfortunately, we've already had one fatality reported out of Haiti due to Melissa. 5 injuries so far. So this one, it's not a good scene, brother. It's really not. You know, Jay Bertrand here, 141 on YouTube. That is a great question. It's I don't know the island enough to know where Jamaicans should evacuate to. This is one of those ones to where it is, potentially the worst case nightmare scenario, and I'm sure that many people will, especially Jamaican residents and long-term Jamaican residents, will understand this could be worse than Gilbert. And for folks who may not know, Gilbert was a Category 5 hurricane that directly hit Jamaica back in 1988. Had a minimum central pressure at its lowest of 888 millibars. It is currently the second doesn't hold the record. The record for the lowest pressure in the basin was Hurricane Wilma in 2005 at 882 millibars. Gilbert was 888, and this could rival the impacts of that, but being actually worse because Gilbert moved in and through. This one isn't supposed to move very quickly at all. The oceanic heat content out here, again, folks, we really got to watch it because it's all going to depend upon where this thing pops in. If it gets into the wrong spot and it sits, we could have big problems, because in some of these areas to where we have these warm core eddies in kind of that zone there, and then getting into kind of this zone here, those warm core eddies have much deeper, warmer waters. And upwelling is not really going to be much of a thing when we're dealing with those subsurface eddies there in the water. And just to give folks an idea of what we're talking about when we mean those subsurface eddies, as you could see here, all of this rotation and how the water currents move down here. Obviously with the Gulf Stream and everything like that, your Gulf Loop current, another broken off loop eddy that looks to be quite vigorous, that should continue off to the west. But getting down here into the Caribbean, as you could see, it is, we're going to need a new color. Let's go back to the red. It's that one right there that really concerns me. That's the one that really concerns me, because it is very deep and it is very warm. And if the storm, it seems like the way that the forecast is trended today, that it shouldn't get near that. It could be on the kind of the outer fringes, or maybe not. That would be helpful. But still, folks, I mean, we're just splitting hairs at this point in time. If it's going to end up in that perfect environmental conditions in which to intensify, it's likely, if it's not near land, it's likely going to tap out to the basin energy. And you would end up trying to make a forecast off of that kind of number, where somewhere in that range. Obviously, it would never go higher, but be right there in that line. And it's this has the potential to be an absolute generational storm. One thing that I can say, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to step out on a limb and say this with great confidence. Melissa's going to get retired at the end of the season. When the WMO Region 4 meets later on, or well, early next year, late March, early April, Melissa's going to be taken off the board, period. I'm very confident in that, seeing what we are seeing with the rainfall, the potential for the wind, and the potential for the storm surge over multiple countries. You're getting retired. Hands down. Like, it's way too much impact. All right, our Euro ensembles. We will drop this back and we will run this forward. Here we are, day 3 at this point. Still a great amount of spread. Looking at the ensemble members and trying to pick them out are going to be extraordinarily difficult. But as we get to day 7, as you could see, still expected to make that turn. How far west does this get? How far north does this get over the next 24 hours? Because if it does get far enough north and then it turns to the west, it could impact Jamaica on the initial run in, and not trying to go out and then come back. Because if it does that, it's likely going to be a Category 5. And it's not looking good, folks. It's really not. Comparing that to the GEFS, We will run that through. Remember, the GFS has had all these ensemble or all of these deterministic runs that run it over Hispaniola. And as you can see, there's not very many there, but the GFS wants to keep this up in and around Jamaica and Haiti, and not necessarily so many of them running out to the south and to the west. But again, if they do, it's not going to matter, folks. We're going to see a major hurricane from this, no matter really what way we go. It's just the real question is where is it going to end up, and how ridiculously strong is it going to get? Because when we're dealing with a major hurricane to begin with, that's already ridiculously strong, hence the name major for the hurricane. But we start getting into that Cat 4, Cat 5 range, and now Mother Nature's just completely out of control. So comparing that to the Euro AI, as you can see here, a lot of them turn it to the left. Again, it all depends upon how far north do we make it over the next 24, 36 hours, and then that turn. If we don't make it up very far, it is guaranteed to be over the open waters. And as it's making that westward motion, and to put it bluntly, all hell will break loose. There's really no other way to put it. It would be, again, if this does not get and have decent land interaction with Jamaica or Haiti, or just being interrupted in somehow, some way, there's no telling where this thing's going to stop. And as you can see with the 12Z Google DeepMind, this is insane, folks. I mean, this is just about as bad as you can get it. I have never seen anything like this. Even when we had one, the closest one that I can think of, and folks wouldn't know it by name, but was out in the Western Pacific earlier this year. Became a Category 5, had really, really strong wind speeds on it, moved north of the Philippines. And for the life of me, the name is just escaping me at this time. But the intensity distribution on this, this is nuts. Because on on Monday evening, October 27th, getting into right around 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, somewhere in that range, just after sunset, we are looking at 80% of these models are calling for at least a Category 4. 80%. The Google DeepMind has been very, very good on nailing intensity this year, or coming very, very close. 80% of these models are calling for at least a Category 4. I'm dumbfounded. Dumbfounded. And it's only got 50 ensemble members. So 40 of them, 22 are Cat 4, 18 of them are Cat 5. Well, so we're left with 10. Well, 7 of those remaining 10 are Cat 3. The other 3 are Cat 2. There's no Cat 1, tropical storm, tropical depression. No. And only 6% chance of this not being a major hurricane by the Google DeepMind's probability tonight. Big problems, folks. Big, 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 big problems. You add that in with the rainfall that we saw. You add that in now with the wind. You add that in with the storm surge and the prolonged persistence of this. Hopefully folks are really starting to, grasp and understand what I'm really trying to get across here. This isn't your normal major hurricane impact. This is not what this is looking out to be. This is looking like a major hurricane impact with a major flooding threat impact with a major surge threat impact on top of it, with it being extended over the period of many, many hours to potentially days. Like, I'm being real, folks. We're going to measure the rain in feet. And we're going to need at least 3 digits for the wind speeds. And I pray that we don't see one start with the 2. But with the gusts, it's possible. It really is. It's not off the table. Can I pin the link? I don't see a link there, brother. You got one there. You got one on Facebook, but I don't see the one here. I don't see the one on YouTube. I see 2 messages retracted. I'll be damned. I don't know what the hell that means. Here. There. I just gave you mod status. Maybe that'll allow it to. I don't know how any of this stuff works, folks. My daughter set all this stuff up. I know how to do the weather. I am, that's my thing. I need Kylie out here to, kind of fix things for me. But she's so busy with 3 jobs and being a full-time student that it's. I don't even try to bother her if I can. All right. Now we're going to run a quick run into the deterministic runs. Again, we have the Euro on the left, GFS on the right. This is of our 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. This measures areas of spin approximately 5,000 feet or around 1 mile above the ocean surface. Again, it's very difficult to be able to trust anything that what we're going to see with the GFS. I would lean more towards the Euro with this particular solution. And as you can see, the Euro does lean this well off to the south, to the west, and then over portions of Jamaica, Cuba, and parts beyond. And then, of course, can't have a system in the Atlantic Basin this year that gets west of 60 that doesn't at least try to threaten Bermuda. So, Bermuda, you're not out of play with this at all. You're not. No, I know y'all are sick of it this year. Enough's enough. Now, what we are going to do is take a look at our humidity models. We've got the 700 millibar graphics on the bottom, the 500 millibar graphics on the top. So the bottom is around 10,000 feet. The top 2 graphics are around 18,000 feet. And we're trying to make that determination of that section of atmosphere between those 2 levels and see whether we've got moist air or dry air. This really has a good view, especially with the top 2 graphics, of being able to see the frontal boundaries as they are going to come in and protect the southeastern United States. Euro on the left, GFS on the right. As we run this forward, you will see here comes that frontal boundary, some of that reinforcing air moving in and not allowing this to maintain any type of westerly motion and then ejected out into the open waters of the Atlantic. So, as you can see, they're still right on time, right on key. A couple decent frontal boundaries. We've got one short wave trying to go through originally, and then a deep layer trough coming in on the back side of that. That if Melissa's still around and the second run, She won't be. She'll be gone. If she happens to miss the first one, then the second will certainly clean it up and get it out of there. Our wind shear, Euro on the left, GFS on the right. This is representative of the winds between 200 millibars and 850 millibars. So that runs from about 5,000 feet all the way up to around 40,000 feet. And what we'll notice again, we're really kind of concentrating more on the Euro. And it is right here at about this 48-hour mark, and especially as it slips west of 75 degrees west, here it goes. It starts to develop its own kind of conducive environment. 929, 26, 24, being an absolute disastrous system with causing great impacts. And then Bermuda up there 956. But as you could see with this jet streak, with that first trough that comes through, there goes that first little short wave of energy. Some of the models want to pick up on that. It would be just off the southeast and Carolina coast right there. Let me hold on. Get a crayon out here. Oh, that's not going to show up. Oh, I believe we have a snory dog. This little spot right here, that little spot right there, and then the bigger secondary low pressure that if it survives if it's far enough north, that will help to kind of pick it up and usher it off. If it's not, oh damn, I was off just by a little bit. Hold on. I want to make sure we're right. It's back here. And that other one is, yeah, right in there. So it's, again, we're going to have to keep a very, very close watch on it. It's not really going to make much of a difference, though. If the GFS were to verify, which it's not, it would be a better scenario than what we're looking at with the Euro for sure. But it either which way we go, it doesn't matter. This is our simulated infrared satellite. This is what we expect to see on the infrared satellite as we go forward in time. Euro on the left, GFS on the right. As you can see, the GFS wants to develop it, move it up. Now it's over portions of Haiti and Hispaniola here at 60 hours. The Euro is really starting to get this thing to get its act together. And by the time we get to here and around, getting close to day 5, you could see massive storm. Great signature here. Would certainly be a very, very powerful hurricane. It'd be at least an upper end Cat 4, if not Cat 5. But if you also notice, we don't get much heading back towards the state of Florida. Now, we could, here tonight, we could go through all the hurricane specific models and show all the differences. But I think I'm going to refrain on that until we get a little bit more consistency, because some of the models are just going to be, downright scary, and I don't want to do that to folks. That's kind of why we use Brian Tang's website here, just to kind of highlight the line and saying, hey, look, here's where the model is going. Here's what the intensity of it is, without necessarily showing that visual graphic of the clear eye and something that looks like an absolute monster, because we're not trying to hype it, but we want to make sure that folks understand. Follow your official sources. Okay, you can get it all here. Follow the National Hurricane Center. And if you live in the warned areas, rush those preparations to completion, like immediately. Immediately. You cannot wait. You cannot wait, especially in Jamaica. You can't wait. You cannot wait. All right, looking into our MJO has slid over into portions of phase 4. That is kind of helping to keep any new tropical cyclone development forming here into our portions of the basin, but unfortunately, it is not going to stop anything that was already existing there. Um, for YouTube, as far as the storm surge is concerned, it's too early to say because you need to figure out exactly how far north this thing is going to get, and then does it have the abilities to go south of Jamaica, or is it going to make landfall in eastern Jamaica, or is it going to go north of Jamaica? There's no guarantee that it's even going to be the heavy surge is going to be on the south side. The surge could honestly be on the northern side and the northeastern side. So still enough uncertainty to where even the National Hurricane Center is saying, hey, look, we may, surge is certainly going to occur, but it's just a little bit too early to say exactly what it's going to be. And if a center jump does occur here overnight tonight and it ends up pulling back to the northeast a little bit, well, that could change some of the forecasting. And if it doesn't, that's obviously going to have adaptations as well. So we may have to wait until the morning to get a little bit of a better idea to see if we end up with another nighttime occurrence of increased convective activity due to its diurnal cycle, and then it jumping the center overnight back, trying to get it closer to the mid-level circulation. So there's so many questions with this. It's just that there's only a couple answers that we have, and one of them happens to be that this is going to be a catastrophic event. That's one answer that we have. We just can't tell you exactly where just yet. It's likely to be Jamaica, very likely to be Jamaica. But how much for Haiti, eastern Cuba, and parts of the Bahamas, maybe even a slight chance for the Caymans? We don't know yet. We don't. And it not having much time for preparation once we may be able to figure it out. That's why I hate the month of October with every fiber in my being. I hate October because it's being a Florida resident. October is always the number one strike potential. Where I grew up, the number one strike potential for the season. And as you can see with October, we've had Wilma, we've had, we've ended up with Matthew, we've ended up with Mitch, just some really, Milton was last year. Like we're dealing with some M storms here, guys. It's the M, Melissa. And it's going to be another one that's going to get retired. All right, jumping out into the Eastern Pacific, as you could see, development over the next 48 hours. It looks halfway decent. Looks like it could be a viable system. And like, oh, okay, here we go. This is about as much as I'm going to talk about it. That's 10 days, no threat to land. 10 days, no threat to land. 10 days, no threat to land. All that was Euro GFS and the Euro AI. I'm not going to waste time on it, even though it'll probably make us waste our time on posting about it because it does look pretty healthy on satellite. I'm not going to lie. So we very well may see something there. Jumping out to the Western Pacific, Feng Shen finally made landfall. Final advisory was issued early this morning. Changi is still out there churning along, headed towards parts of Eastern Africa, with 3 other waves out there in their respective basins with a low chance of development over the next 24 hours. So quick jump over here to Changi. Again, it is headed towards Eastern Africa, but it has weakened quite a bit over the last 24 hours compared to what it was yesterday. And will it make it? That's the question. I just report on it. I have not looked at the forecast at that thing because it was never really going to be any type of major impact to any land, so it never really caught my attention. And Melissa has all of my attention, my full attention right now, and rightfully so. All right, everybody. I am. So why is 145 miles an hour predicted if the ensembles barely get to Cat 4? Okay, so one, the National Hurricane Center's forecast is only going to go out 5 days right now, and we may be dealing with it longer than that. The ensembles, when you are looking at the ensembles themselves, you have to take each individual line as a point of probability. And when it comes to like individual ensembles, you don't necessarily look at just one or anything like that. You do look at the mean and the overall trend of the models. And wow, boy, you're really starting to get its act together here. Starting to look like it's building a little bit of structure here in the overnight hours. Really keep a watch on this thing as the sun goes down. But getting back to that answer, there's always going to be your outliers, especially when it comes to the ensembles. I can show you. If you remember what we saw here with the Google DeepMind. So let me show you what the Euro ensembles look like. As you can see here with the Euro ensembles, there's always, well, until today, there's always going to be that one that's blue or, you know, red or whatever. It's not going to be like, oh, Lord, there's a catastrophic disaster that's fixing to take place. This is what physics-based models and, you know, what we're used to see. That doesn't necessarily, each of those ensemble members, you can't look at one individually and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to roll with that one. Because I could pull up all 50 ensemble members and show them to you. And how they vary is crazy. It really is. You'll go from something to hardly nothing on one that you know that, like this one here, ensemble number 12, 1001 millibar. Okay, so what that's telling you is ensemble number 12 had a maximum value or the minimum central low pressure of the entire ensemble run was 1001 millibars. No. It's currently 1001 and it's definitely going to get stronger. So you got to be able to kind of weed through some of the noise that comes through these. Looking at, let's see, do we get the GEFS? Yes. There's the GEFS's ensemble members and their pressures. So again, there's always that one until today with the Google DeepMind. Look at this. That's 1005 millibars. The storm is currently stronger than that. Has lower pressures. All right, everybody. I am going to go ahead and jump off here for now. We will be live back again for a special update at 10:45 p.m. Eastern, 9:45 p.m. Central. So feel free, join us then. We'll go over the 11 p.m. Advisory. I'm not going to go too deep into the models and stuff like that. We're basically going to cover the particulars from the National Hurricane Center, maybe jump into some of the reconnaissance information, check some of the satellite data, and run from there. We're not going to get too crazy here at 10:45 p.m. tonight because it's 10:45 p.m. I don't feel like being up till 1 o'clock in the morning because I could sit here and just run this. As you can see, it's already been an hour and 20 minutes. But please, folks, if you take away anything from this broadcast, official sources, and make sure if you are in those warned areas, rush preparations to completion. All right, everybody. I'll talk to you again here in a few hours.